Here's why I think the Blues should not make any moves at the trade deadline.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk to you about a very simple thing, and that is why the Blues should not make any moves at the trade deadline. This is a topic that we have yet to discuss, and I feel like it is important to bring it up. I'm enjoying Four Nations. I'll say it. Last night's game, it was a good one. Obviously, it's not the All-Star game, and I already went on my rant about that, so that's all for that. And then I'm going to be grading some players because there's a couple players that we don't talk about enough on this channel. Not because they're playing poorly, but they're just also not exceeding expectations, so we just don't talk about them as much. So we have a lot to get to on today's episode of Locked On Blues. Again, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Blues here on YouTube at Locked On Blues if you're listening on a podcast. Whenever you're safely listening, I know some of you like to listen when you drive, so again, safety is first. But let's get into today's episode. I have talked about what moves the Blues should make at the trade deadline a lot, whether it's selling, how they shouldn't be buying. But what if the Blues make no moves at all? I know what you're thinking, Hale, that happened kind of last season and you were really upset about it. And I feel like last season the team performed better, so they were going to be a middle team. But the way that this current team is playing, even though it's a lot of the same players, they're worse. And the players that they got, you would think it would make the team better, but guess what? It didn't. Newsflash, the Blues are not a good team. So I also have this theory that if the Blues don't make any moves at all, they could still finish within the bottom 7, bottom 5. Now, I understand that selling is important, but again, you still have the off season to do things. I just don't think that Doug Armstrong should just get rid of players just to get rid of them without a purpose. I think that trying to get as much value back for a player is really important. And I understand that there are some teams that are, making these big trades and it looks huge, right? But the reality is those teams are usually the ones that are contending for a playoff spot. And the Blues are not. I hate to say it. I hate to put a damper on this Thursday, the day before Valentine's Day, but there is no love when it comes to the Blues in the playoffs this season. See what I did there? I try to be a little quirky, but it's just not feasible. The problem with selling too, and especially right now, is it's different than a cap dump, right? A salary dump. You got rid of Perunovic, for what I'm assuming at least is to save some money with the cap, right? I don't think Saad, again, it was more about the money. It wasn't about what you're getting in return. So if Saad too, with putting him on waivers and eventually terminating the contract, I feel like, again, that was a financial reason. I was a little surprised though, because in Doug's history, I would have thought that he would have made some big move and brought in some bigger name type of player. He didn't, which indicates to me that maybe he's cooking up something for the trade deadline. I just don't think that he should. I don't see the point. Teams are desperate right now, teams that are playoff teams. And what I mean by that is there's injuries that happen throughout the season. So maybe some teams need like a third pair defenseman or they need like a fourth line winger. I'm just making that up on the fly, but that's why sometimes teams go after certain players, which is why the Islanders were so quick to make a trade for Perunovic, why the VGK got Saad. It's because some teams that are really good teams right now in the league need certain players. I think that the trade deadline is a really interesting I guess, tell all of how teams view themselves. Teams that don't make any moves, I view it as this: you're either really good and you're really satisfied with what you have, or you're really desperate to relieve some cap space, or you were just trying to get a player to kind of replace somebody that's missing right now due to injury. That's usually the reasons why. Teams don't just make trades to make trades. Usually there is a purpose behind each trade. Now, let's go say, for all jokes and fun, the Blues decide to trade Nick Leddy. Like, again, very random. I don't think they're going to do this. Um, it- I would see them getting rid of a player for just relieving some cap space, but I don't think any of our players that you would consider trading would be able to bring in that much value besides Jordan Binnington, Robert Thomas, or Jordan Kyrou. Even Colton Parayko. I think that there comes a point, and while Parayko does look good, I just don't think these players, most of them, have that type of, oh my goodness, if you put him on another team, he's going to really succeed. I just don't see that being the outcome. And I'm not trying to be rude, and I'm not trying to put any of these players down by any means, but I just don't think that they have what it takes to sustain another team and to significantly improve them. And I think it's kind of sad in a way too when you think about it that, the Blues, they do have talent. Robert Thomas is talented. Jordan Binnington is talented. Jordan Kyrou is talented. Jake Neighbors, with all due respect, even though it's not the best season, talented. Dylan Holloway, talented. It's the defensive core that makes me a little bit apprehensive. You can't trade Cam Fowler. You can't trade Suter for any type of value, even with Justin Folk and Nick Leddy. Maybe, again, Colton Parayko. Tyler Tucker, I still don't think he'd bring out any value. So it's one of those we really just have to look at the team as a whole. Joel Hofer, I could 100% see him being traded somewhere and him having value, but I don't think the Blues would risk trading Hofer with how they've been developing him. It wouldn't make any logical sense. So that's why I also have my statement of maybe just don't do anything at the deadline, because first off, and unless you're willing to bring up like a guy like Dvorsky, I don't see trading any more of your centers or any forwards away. I don't. Like, and that's the issue. Like, the Blues, like, they're kind of running out of players in a sense. I love the Thunderbirds, and you know that. But do I think that, a guy like Simon Robertson is showing me that he's dominating so much in the AHL and that he's ready for the NHL? No, and that's okay. The AHL is a developmental league, and I think that he's doing what he needs to do there. And I don't think that it's bad. I don't think it's great. I think that he's doing what he needs to do. The only player on the Thunderbirds that has really impressed me throughout the season so far has been Dvorsky. And I'm not surprised at all that he's been this phenomenal. I just don't think the Blues are in a position where they can rely on the Thunderbirds guys, the AHLers, as feasible NHL players yet besides Dvorsky. And that's the reality of it. I mean, I'm not suspecting Fowler or Suter to be here next season. I'm sorry, I'm not. Like, there's a real problem when it comes to this Blues team. They need defensemen, younger defensemen. They need forwards. They need centers. Like, there's a lot that they need that they don't have. The only position that I feel like the Blues are good in is in between the net with the goalies, with Hofer and Ben. It just amazes me how many times I see potential, trade moves that the team could make, and it just doesn't make any sense because at the end of the day, this isn't a team that's loaded like the Edmonton Oilers, like the Vegas Golden Knights. They're not. I'm sorry. They don't have that kind of talent. Even the Rangers, despite how poorly they were doing at a point in the season, they still had bigger names that have a lot of value. So it's not necessarily because the Blues are not winning. It's more the fact that on the roster, the Blues just don't have the level of talent that some of these other teams in the NHL have. And that's the reality. All right. I want to talk to you about my friends at Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crackin is a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I really love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. They're always my go to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in shell options are a classic favorite. Get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. I personally love pistachios, so I'm grabbing mine after the show. I am not a hypocrite. I am not. I know what you're thinking. Hale, you were talking so poorly about the Four Nations face-off last night. I get it, and I did, and I'm not taking that back because at the end of the day, yes, I don't like the idea that we don't have an all-star game. I hate it. It sucks. Like, I'm sorry, but that's, how it is at the end of the day. I also think that I can look at this and say to myself, oh my gosh, my voice. Wow, I watched a really good game last night. And that was the reality of it. I watched a really good hockey game last night between Canada and Sweden. Um, it was quite an incredible game. I mean, at the end of the day, like you have some of these really good dynamic players. So I personally was ecstatic about it. Anyways, Canada won in OT. Not surprised necessarily at all. Mario Lemieux was what he by the way, Mario Lemieux, by the way, he was being introduced to the crowd, and what an icon. Like he battled through cancer, and he came back to it was just he has such an incredible story. Yes, but it was a 4-3 OT win for Team Canada. And Nathan McKinnon, he gave Canada the lead only 56 seconds into the game. And it was a great assist too by Crosby in an assist. Later in the first period too, Brad Marchand was able to give Canada a 2-0 lead from a pass from Braden Point. Some of these, by the way, names are so weird because it's like, it's weird, right? Anyways, yes, Spinner was a net. Yeah, it happens. Jonas Brodin scored on him. It happens. However, Mark Stone, LTIR Mark Stone, restored Canada's lead, making it 3-1. And it was a great pass from Crosby. Again, a great wrist shot, by the way, from Adrian Kempe. And got past Spinner, and Sweden tied the game. I mean, what happened was it was Ericsson's yeah, so it happens, but Mitch Marner with a great OT goal. It was a really good game. I personally, my biggest takeaways is that Jordan Binnington is a great goalie, and when he actually has defense and talent in front of him, and that's no offense on the Blues, he definitely plays a much better game. I wasn't surprised that Canada won. I was more surprised how they won. I thought it was an easy game. I'm not going to deny that. Not that I didn't think that Sweden had talent. I mean, they have talent. Like, there's no denying that. But I didn't think it was to the extent that the Canadians had. But again, who am I to be that critical of it? people were hating on Jordan Binnington. I get it. Like some of this, like yeah, some of the saves he could have saved. I don't know, but he made such great saves too. Like even in like I don't know. Like I just when the game was tied, you know what? A lot of people hate on Binnington, and I get like I don't know. I just don't think people like him personally because I get some of the saves were not. I mean, some of the goals that he let in were not great, like the first couple. Um, but like he's clutch, and I get flustered with my words because I don't understand how so many people hate him. Like I see tweets like I wish nothing but bad things for him. Um, people like posting memes of like deflated cars. Um, yeah. I've actually have never seen so many people hating on him. Someone said Canada has Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon, McCarr. Canada also has Jordan Binnington. Like, I understand. Somebody said Jordan Binnington and Mark Stone are kind of like the same person. I think that not everybody understands Binnington. From all my interactions that I've had with Binner, he's been awesome. Like, he's not maybe the most like bubbly person when it comes to media, and if that's like your reason why you like a player, then I'm sorry, but that's a stupid reason. He's been fine with me. I mean, he's an athlete, he's competitive, goalies are locked in, and even though he's on a team like the Blues who are not doing that well this season, doesn't mean that he's not talented. I just don't understand it. um I don't know, like it's just astonishing to me how many people hate him. And in overtime, like he was great. I don't know. Like, I just can't see how people think so poorly of him. I will never understand it. Somebody put out a tweet saying they could have had a Logan Thompson, Mackenzie Blackwood, literally any other Canadian goalie, but no, it's Jordan Binnington. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get the hate. I'm sorry. Like, a player doesn't have to be likable for him to be like good for you. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. And then people even say it's not the fact that how he is on ice, it's him as a person. Like, if you don't like him, honestly, because who he is as a person, let me educate you on some things. He does a lot for the St. Louis community. You may not think so. Do some research. He does a lot for the community here in St. Louis. Secondly, he's a great teammate. He's a great leader. And you know what? It doesn't matter if some random person on Twitter likes him or not. What matters is if his teammates like him, if he's able to play good in between the pipes. That's what matters. But you act like you know Jordan Binnington. You act like, oh, well, because a couple years ago he lost his temper a few times. He's this awful person. I'm gonna hate him. Every single athlete at one point or another has lost their temper. I promise you that. Brad Marchand, let's take him for an example. I'm not trying to talk the talk, but he's lost his temper. He's licked players, but no, it's okay because he's on the Bruins and, they're so lovable. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's so hypocritical. So when I see this Jordan Binnington slander from people on the internet, and I'm reading these posts, and I can't even comprehend with words how idiotic, and I hate to be like that, but how idiotic it is to me that I'm seeing so many people putting this truly talented Stanley Cup winning goalie down because you don't like him as a person. Well, then guess what? You don't have to watch. I hate to say that, but you don't have to watch the game because every single person that likes to hate on him, that likes to think, oh, he's not a good goalie. He's not good. It's Jordan Binnington. I don't want to have to watch him. Guess what? Don't watch him. Turn your TV off, as Kendrick Lamar said. Turn the TV off. Turn it off. because I can promise you this, I'm watching hockey for the talent. I'm watching because I enjoy watching how players are on the ice, not how they are off the ice. But again, you only care about how he is, personality-wise. Not everyone's going to have the personality that you like. It doesn't mean that he's not a fantastic goalie and the disrespect is real. Seriously, it is real. He's on a really bad team with some really bad defense in front of him. And you think, yeah, yep, he's not good. Well, then don't watch him. Nothing gets me more fired up than Jordan Binnington slander. So, yep. But it's time to talk to you about what fuels me, and that is Factor. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year, Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's calorie smart, protein plus, or keto. Plus, Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, and grab and go snacks to keep you full all day long. I love how Factor takes the stress out of meal planning. I recently tried their Protein Plus meals, and they were packed with flavor and kept me full throughout the day. The convenience is unbeatable. No prep, no mess, just great food in minutes. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/lockedonnhl50 off and use code lockedonnhl50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code lockedonnhl50 off at factormeals.com/lockedonnhl50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. I talked that I was going to grade some players, and there's a couple players on the team that I want to grade that we don't talk about. First off, it's Nathan Walker. I'm not going to do the whole stats and throwing that at you. That's boring. I'm grading him on where I think he fits on this team. I think that he fits on this team as a C. That when he's on, not like a captain, like A, B, C, D, E, F, like not E, A, D, C, D, F. He's a C. Why is that? Because I think that he honestly fits in well. I think that when he's not in the lineup, you can kind of tell that there is a lack of energy, especially on the fourth line. I enjoy Walker on the fourth line a lot. I think that he gets looked kind of, people look past him, I would say. And it's not because he's not talented, it's just because he clearly isn't like the best on the team. But I do think that he does contribute in a positive way. The next player that I'm going to grade is Philip Broberg. We haven't talked about Broberg in a while, and that's because I feel like he hasn't done as much in a while. But I grade him a B minus. I think that he is one of the better defenders on the team, which is not saying much because the Blues kind of suck right now defensively. But I feel like he made a big impact, like the first couple weeks. Yeah, and he just kind of didn't live up to that hype, and that's okay. I'm not expecting every player to continue on the hype. Sometimes when players join new teams, especially at the beginning of a season, you just see like a surge in a sense of I would say you just would see a surge in just better play. And over time, it's just going to mellow out and you're going to see how it is. But I don't think he's a bad player. The next player that we don't talk about enough on this team, a player that, again, isn't doing great, isn't doing bad, is Foxa. Listen, am I his biggest fan? No, I'm not. And it's not a personal thing. I just think that he hasn't shown me what I wanted to see out of him, so I'm gonna give him a C. Again, he fits in, it's fine. I just, again, don't really necessarily overly impressed with him. The next player is Alexei Turchenko. C. A lot of these players are C's. Um, he does what he needs to do on the ice. Do I think that it's great? No. Do I think it's bad? No. Do I want to see more out of him? Absolutely. A little bit more aggressive play would be nice. I think sometimes he holds back a little bit, and I just want to kind of see him expand and just kind of take more of like a leadership role on the ice. Not that he's going to be a leader, but just something that I want to see out of him. I think that when you just look at this Blues team overall, there's just a lot of average players, but that's why I kind of wanted to talk about them because I just don't think that people truly understand how average and below average this team is, which is why it is disappointing. On tomorrow's episode of Locked on Blues, it'll be my last episode of being a 25-year-old because my birthday is on Saturday, so it's going to be a birthday party edition. I know it's Valentine's Day. Guess what? I don't care. We're going to be doing a little birthday celebration of my birthday wishes of what I want for the Blues. And of course, an Are We Feeling Blue Friday. Again, make sure to subscribe to Locked on Blues here on YouTube or anywhere where you listen to your podcasts. I'm Haley Taylor Simon, your host of Locked on Blues, letting you know I love this team. I'm allowed to be disappointed. No Binner slander. And like always, let's go Blues.